ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream Tuesday. I hope you guys had a good Monday and that you had a good weekend as well. So I can see you guys in the live chat room already, so hello in there. And let's skip an advert instantly. Get that one out of the way, but hello to you guys. Let's see who's in the house tonight. We have Joe, Rowan, Liz, Bob, Lisa, Billy, PM112, Elaine, Bob again, Laura Lee, Barbara, Melody Rock, Sue, Rose, Tammy, Angela, Ninja Kitty, Ruth, Cindy, Suzanne, Lisa, and it's going through too quickly for me to rattle off the names, but thank you guys for joining me on this Tuesday night. Something that I'm noticing in the live chat room, and maybe people can let me know what this is all about, but some people have got, like, it looks like a party hat or a crown or something, and then a number next to their names. And I think Angela has number 2, and I can see that Paul has a number 1. So I'm not sure what that relates to, but maybe it's the amount of, I don't know, comments on the channel. Maybe that's a bit of a guess. So if anybody knows, that would be much appreciated. Ninja Kitty says that is the number of chats made. It's a new feature on YouTube. Oh, this is Sue. It's a new feature on YouTube rating how often people post in chat. Okay, so so now potentially there's going to be a competition between everyone to try and post the most times in the live chat room. So I can see Orlando's number 3. So there we go. But that's only just appeared because it's not in the super chat window, which I can see already. Paul and Orlando are in there, so thank you for that. Right, now let's get organized by getting the names of my patrons up on screen, because they make this all possible in the first place. You know who you are. As I always say, they're the foundation of everything that I do, and I wouldn't be able to do the live streams, the analysis videos, everything that I do on the channel without their support. So a big thank you to you guys at the bottom of the screen. And now let's get on screen the likes goal and what we're going to be aiming for tonight. The likes goal for tonight is set at 425. So yeah, if you could hit that thumbs up as you come through the door, it would be very much appreciated, because if we do indeed hit that target of 425, it means that we're going to be having Phil Jam number 250. So I think Joe said in his message it was a milestone of sorts, but yeah, he said it's basically 2.5 years of this going on. And he says some marriages don't last as long. Well, here goes. And then gives me the link to the Phil Jam, which we will jump into later on, like I said. So let's get the likeometer up on screen to see where we are at. And we are at 212 likes so far. So that was, and that is now, it would have been 212.5 to get exactly halfway. So it means that we're over halfway, only just by 0.5, but we're only just past halfway, but that's a good start. So yeah, we need obviously more people to get involved. Hit the thumbs up to have the Phil Jam, but as always with these live streams, it is a race against time to see if we can make it before the end. So we will see. Right. Now, let me get the donations tab up on screen, because as I always say, you don't have to donate. Just watching is great. And I know that there are some people that can't resist donating. So for those people, I think it's important they know between 3 and 5% goes to PayPal through the PayPal link, which you can find in the description below. And between 45 and 60% goes to YouTube through the Super Chat window. But yeah, just watching is great. And by the way, I mentioned on the last live stream, and I'll mention it again, that there's now an official requests email. So if you want to make a request for a particular video, then you can write an email to requests@wingsofpegasus.com. And I mean, that is the website, wingsofpegasus.com, that the email is attributed to. So if you just email requests at wingsofpegasus.com. It's not a website, even though it is wingsofpegasus.com. It's not a website. You just put that into your email as who you're sending it to, and then that will get through to me and I'll get your request. And of course, in the email, you can put a link to the particular video that you want me to take a look at, and you can do whatever you want in that email. Sometimes people ask very specific things about a particular performance, and we'll get into that in the analysis for those videos that are a little bit more specific, but then other people just want to know what's going on in a particular performance. So yes, requests at wingsofpegasus.com. Put that in the to part of your email and it will get through to me. So hopefully that makes sense. And ideally, if you can include a link to a video in the performance, then that does help me out, because time is very tight all the time. And this is why I've set up the requests email, because I don't have time now to go through different social media platforms and answering all the questions, because I'm only one person. So just one email address. And you might have noticed, or some people might have noticed over on Facebook, I now have an automatic reply to say that I'm not checking that inbox anymore, but you can message me through phil@wingsofpegasus.com. For requests, go to requests at wingsofpegasus.com, and this is just what you put into your email, who you're sending it to. And yeah, I also mentioned that if you are a patron of mine over on Patreon, then you can just message me. And I'm not sure whether people appreciate that or know that they can do that. So over on Patreon, if you are a patron at any level over there, you can just message me directly. Like now, you'll be able to get a message in my Patreon inbox. So that's probably the most direct way of doing it, but the only thing about that is leaving links to videos might be a little bit more difficult, so the requests email is always best. But the reason that I say it's best if you leave a link to a video is because when I do the analysis, like, first of all, the legitimacy of the video that we're looking at, if somebody sends me an email and it's got a link on there to a particular video and it's not an official release by the band or the artist, the person might say, oh, can you tell me if this person's lip syncing or whether it's pitch corrected or auto-tuned or anything like that. And it might be just on a channel that isn't official in any way, then I can say, well, it sounds like either this or this, but it's not an official release. So I can't make a video saying that they have done that, because somebody else might have done that to the band or the artist's voice. So yeah, that's an important reason to have the links in there, to make sure everything's legitimate and an official release if people are looking for me to do an investigation into something. But also just to save me time, when people are saying, oh, can you check out this particular artist, type it into Google and find the video on this or that. Again, there might be multiple videos, so I don't know exactly what the person is requesting, and yeah, it might take me a lot of time to try and find the video, and like I said, I haven't got time to kind of go out myself trying to find a video that somebody's been non-specific about, just giving me the artist and the name and a vague kind of description of what it might be. So yeah, always good to have a link in there. So anyway, through the Wings of Pegasus website, there is a contact page on there as well, and a lot of people do use that for requests. So that is another way of doing it, but I thought just requests at wingsofpegasus.com is going to be the official one, because even with the contact page, again, that's not necessarily a requests page, it's just a contact page. So yeah, if you want to contact me, and generally that'll be for more business kind of things and people that want to get me or ask me to do particular, I don't know, interviews or shows or sponsored videos, which I don't do, but that'll be more to do with what the contact page is on wingspegasus.com. So yeah, if you want to make sure your request gets requested, or you make the request, make sure you email requests at wingsofpegasus.com. Just makes it all a lot easier. So anyway, let's see what we have for tonight's cover videos, and I can see that You Know My Name is at 54%. And the other track is Parisian Walkways. I think that's just a rollover from last time. And again, it got requested over on Patreon. So if you want to hear my version of either You Know My Name or Parisian Walkways, then yeah, have your say at the top of that live chat room. Just vote on either of those. Right. Now, I can see that there have been donations already. So thank you guys for these. I'll start in the super chat window because Paul donated $5. Thank you for that. And the message was, wow, 492,000 subscribers. Most excellent. Time to have fun. And let's spike the likes, all y'all. Love, peace, and rock. So thank you for that, Paul. Indeed, we have now reached 492,000 subscribers, which is great. And it's a half decent number. We'll keep on pushing forward, see where we end up. But I think things on the channel seemingly are starting to come back to where they used to be before this whole issue with YouTube kicked off and people were being unsubscribed, and maybe YouTube just had a period where it kind of did that, and now it's starting to get back to relative normality. I'm trying to think, I mean, recently, I'll get rid of this, but yeah, thank you guys for subscribing, and yeah, hitting the notification bell. You have to do that in order to get notified for all the videos. But if you want to receive a notification and an email for every video, then head over to patreon.com/wingsofpegasus. It's free to join up there, and I make all of the videos now public, so it means that you'll get an email saying that I've released a new video, rather than relying on YouTube, which can be a bit hit and miss for the notifications. But thankfully things are seemingly getting back to relative normality on the channel, and it is strange how things kind of have turned around over the last few weeks. And I think it was just one video that I did that really got pushed out there by YouTube, and it wasn't to do with a famous band or anything like that. And I think that's maybe the reason that YouTube is more likely to push that kind of video out there rather than bands and artists that are on major labels. As I've mentioned on the channel before, in other videos, about the agreement that they have with major labels, and it's not necessarily a good look for YouTube to have a channel that's telling people what's going on with live performances of artists that are signed to these major labels that YouTube has agreements with. So yeah, I understand why it's happened, but things, I mean, the thing is, I'm not going to change the way that I do things on the channel, so in the future it might happen again. Like, now that things are turning around, and I'm sure that I know for a fact that there are big name artists and bands that have been featured that I'm going to be doing over the next kind of few weeks. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, 492,000 subscribers is great, and thank you guys for all of the support and watching and interacting with the channel, leaving your comments, leaving the thumbs up, all of that cool stuff. So now Orlando has donated $2 as well. Thank you for that, Orlando. The message is, hit that like button. Phil Jam Day, rock. So thank you for that. And we only have the Phil Jam if we hit 425 likes. So still a ways to go yet at 271. So we'll keep an eye on that. If we do hit the target, we'll bust out the guitar. Right. Orlando has donated $2 again. It says, I have not said this in a while. Hey, Paul. With a wave. So thank you for that, Orlando. And Tim has donated $9.99 as well. And Tim has a number 1 by his name, but Paul has a number 1 by his name. So how do you explain that? If it's like a ranking system as to who's done the most comments or chats or something like that, then yeah, I still don't understand what these numbers mean, and I can't click on anything to find out, so I'll have to look into that, or I'll just accept that they are what they are, whatever they are. Anyway, Orlando's just popped in there with a $2 donation. Thank you for that. Orlando says, I am on my other account to give another like, with a thumbs up. So thank you for that, very much appreciated. You don't have to donate, but yeah, thank you for those of you that have. They are very much appreciated, but yeah, just watching is great. There have been a few donations over on PayPal as well. And John has donated £5, so thank you for this, John. And it is a straight up donation. Just waiting for this to show up. Is Bryony, who has donated £5. So thank you for that, Bryony. And the message is, and why not? So thank you for that. And there's been another one. It's Steve, who has donated £5. So thank you for that, Steve. And the message is, Keith Richards likes to play a 5-string guitar. What are the advantages and drawbacks? So thank you for that. So, I mean, generally, I don't know whether this is something that I'll have to demonstrate, but generally with a 5-string guitar, you're going to be getting rid of the lowest string, which in standard tuning will be your low E string. And I know that the low E string, in the case of Keith, I think I might be making this up, but I think it's because he leaves those low notes, because the low E string you can play effectively on a bass as well. So he leaves that to the bassist whilst he just plays from the A string up. But the other thing is keeping things quiet, and when you're playing lead guitar, not having to worry so much about muting strings. And what I might do is I'll grab the guitar but this is we're not going to be getting into fill jam yet, but I'll grab the guitar and I'll make sure that it's actually all working and plugged in and fine. So well, this might be a bit heavy, this particular sound. Oh yeah, that's alright, we've got our lead tone, but it'll be fine. And I think I'm already zoomed out, which is a good opportunity to check if that is indeed the case for later on. And where's the red dude? There he is. We are already zoomed out. So, the low E string is here. Right, so that low E string, when you're playing lead, for example, if I'm playing in E minor here, that's technically an E5 or a power chord. If I'm going like that, if I'm up at this part, when I'm playing, I'm muting the low E string, and this is all kind of right hand technique. So even though I was playing strings like that, if you listen to my low E string like that, you can hear it. I'm resting on it, but it means that I'm muting it and coming down onto it. Obviously the disadvantage is that if you're playing riffs, especially in E minor, you don't have your low E string to, all that. There's so much that, especially in kind of hard rock riffs, are all based around the low E string, and even E flat, if you're detuning your whole guitar, and drop D as well. It means that you're taking your low E string for drop D down to a D. But anyway, getting back to the point of playing, when playing a normal 6-string guitar, you've just got to make sure that you are muting that low E string as much as you can. So for example here, like here, if I now play the low E, you hear that, and now, so I'm resting my first finger, you probably can't see it very clearly, but I'm resting my first finger on the low E string, so that when I play this note, if I, for example, accidentally hit the low E string, which you shouldn't do really, but playing lead guitar is all about covering every possible scenario that could make it sound bad. You want to make sure that the technique that you're playing with is so pristine that nothing can ring out when you don't want it to. So here, if I hit that probably sounded like one string, but I hit the low E string first. And the reason you don't hear the low E string is because that's what it sounds like. So I'll do it again. So it sounds like one note, but I'm hitting two strings. I'm hitting that low E string. But for some players, you know, maybe Keith feels like that's a bit of a pain to have to worry about hitting, accidentally hitting here. Because if you're not muting it, that's what it sounds like. And you don't kind of want that to come through. If you're playing a lead, and you accidentally hit the low E string, it's going to ring out quite a lot. So, yeah. When playing, I mean, I tend to focus on it from both sides, so that I'm resting on the low E string with my right hand near the bridge of the guitar down here. I'm just resting on it, and I'm touching it with my first finger, so that you don't hear that. So yeah, and that still goes. I mean, the argument, for me, the argument will still be legitimate when you say, well, what about your high E string when you're playing the B string here? You know, you're still having to keep that quiet. And again, you shouldn't really accidentally hit that string, but if you do, that's me hitting two strings. But I'm resting on the high E string. So during that, I hit two strings all the time there. But hopefully, you can only hear one note coming out, even though I'm hitting two strings. And, you know, that's something that, you know, if I'm now playing three strings, I'm playing three strings here. So, like I said, you're always trying to stop as many strings ringing out that you don't want. So, like I said, you shouldn't be accidentally, you know, hitting three strings. You should be able to just hit the string you're aiming for. But if you do accidentally hit three strings, for example, like that, then you can still make sure that you only get the string that you want to ring out. So anyway, that's the basic principle behind then getting rid of your low E string. I think Keith just thinks it kind of gets in the way too much, and, you know, his playing might get a little bit... a little bit messy because of catching that low E string, maybe when he doesn't want to. But I mean, even for me, that, for me personally, the low E string just does too much that is positive, and I know that I can mute it anyway. So yeah, you want to make sure that your technique is in a place where you've got the best of both worlds, that you can use that low E string if you want to, and you can mute it when you don't want it to ring out. So yes, that's a little bit of technique talk for tonight. Right, I'll keep this here just in case something else pops up. And Kyrieleison has donated $10, so thank you for that. And the message is, nice guitar demo, thanks. More of this, please. You are in your element with this. So thank you for that. And yeah, I'm going to have to just kind of get through what I was planning for my guitar course, because I've got this idea of putting them in live stream. So maybe for the first half an hour of a live stream, or maybe 15-20 minutes, we have just a segment on playing lead guitar and the stuff that basically what I'm doing at the end of every live stream with the fill jams, of just playing along to whatever it might be, kind of what I'm implementing in order to do that, not thinking about scales or modes or keys or anything. So yeah, I'm planning on doing that in the future. I think I just have to organize it a little bit better so that I know what I'm going to be talking about for that 20 minutes at the beginning of a live stream, because it will be live, so it means that I guess I could potentially edit it later on and take the footage and then do it when I want to release it as like an official course or something. So anyway, right. There was something else. Somebody did say, what's something like, I think, what's the correct muting technique? But I would say that you want to mute with your left hand and your right hand. So like I said, with this right hand here, you can rest on, and this is actually really good for playing rhythm as well. If you've got a heavier tone like I have, resting on the bridge of the guitar, you'll find the cutoff point. So if I'm up here and go like this, you won't really hear much. But now, as I get closer to the bridge, it's allowing the string to vibrate more. Because when we're up here, we're hitting the string, and it's not being allowed to vibrate because my hand's on it. Whereas you want to get that combination of, as you move down here, because you can get used to where you want to have your right hand, or what kind of sound. If I wanted a muted sound, you can hear that. That wasn't. It wasn't like that. It was more muted. So you can start to, not really have to mess around with your technique too much. You can see that you probably can't see, but my right hand is kind of fanned out, so that my hand is covering all of those strings. And again, I guess that might be something that technique wise, if you play with a closed hand and you don't have your hand kind of fanned out, if it's closed, you can see that I'm now potentially not able to mute. I mean, I've got quite small hands. If you've got a bigger hand, you might be able to do it with that kind of closed hand. But having it fanned out, it means that you can, if you want to, mute all of those strings. So anyway, yeah, that's it. Right hand, just focus on kind of being in that right spot, because what you'll find is that when you're playing, it will start to become automatic. When you're playing the G here, for example, or the G string, if I'm now going through the rest of the strings, muted, muted, muted. So if I hit those, nothing's going to happen really. And you can start to get to the point where you can even hit your low E, your A, your D, and get that kind of muted sound. That's what you want to aim for. And then if you want to, and this is kind of a technique where sometimes you'll hear this kind of muted sound before we get into, say for example, that. I don't know whether you can make that out. You're kind of hearing the pick go across strings before you even get to where you're, and it kind of makes it sound like a bit of a sweep in slow motion. That's like that. So but yeah, this is I'm started to get kind of instantly into more advanced stuff, but you always just want to build it up, and it might not sound very good if you're going like that across your strings, but that's what the other strings sound like when you're playing this. And just to check, that's what those low strings are sounding like. But obviously you don't hear that, because that's the whole point. You're not supposed to hear those other strings when you're playing lead guitar. You're supposed to only hear the notes that you want to ring out. And there might be times when, you have different things that you're playing. And say for example, I want a little bit more attitude. You can do that kind of thing, which is intentionally fretting the G, bending up, and allowing more stuff to ring out. And this is where great players like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Prince and Gary Moore, they had this ability to let other strings ring out that add to the sound, so it doesn't sound rubbish, it sounds really cool. And even sometimes when you'd get that kind of thing where we go and you'd hear like a little G, open G, ring out, but it's not an intentional thing. It's just part of the expression of playing and throwing caution to the wind and just getting really cool sounds. And that's where, I mean, even Eddie Van Halen, being a massively technical player, he still did this, but with tapping. So sometimes you hear something ring out that's actually essential to the sound, but then you think, well, how did he do that? But it was just all part of him kind of throwing caution to the wind. So trying to replicate it is, really, really difficult. So there we go. Anyway, that's... skip that advert. That's some guitar technique talk for tonight, just keeping it really nice and controlled, so that if you're playing lead, you're just getting the notes to ring out that you want to ring out. You always want to be in control, and then you want to decide whether to have other strings ring out or not, rather than them ringing out and they're uncontrollable. Another thing, if you're playing at volume, don't want this to go on for too long, but if you're playing at volume and you're getting strings ringing out when you don't want them to, that's going to potentially cause feedback through your amplifier, because the last thing you want live is that uncontrollable feedback through your amp and then trying to get it under control. And that's another thing that Jimi Hendrix was like amazing at, was controlling his feedback so that everything you heard was just clean guitar, even though it was always on the verge of feedback. So then when he wanted it to feedback, he just let it go, and that's where his sound was so unique. And it's just an art form in itself, to control it to that level. But anyway, thank you for that, Steve. Oh yeah, so a very long answer to that question, but it all relates to muting, so it's all technique specific, as I have explained. Paul has donated £3.56, so thank you for that, Paul. And that is a straight up donation. And Dwayne has donated £35.63, so thank you for that. And Dwayne says Phil is the Brad Delp of the UK. Best regards, Dwayne Spears. So thank you for that, Dwayne. I'm not sure that's entirely accurate, but thank you for the huge compliment. There's another donation that's just popped in there as well. Orlando has donated £7.50, so thank you for that. And the message from Orlando is, I am curious, how do you produce that high squeal sound, a la the movie Rockstar, and made famous by, if I am correct, Jeff Beck, CC DeVille, and Joe Satriani? So thank you for that, or Joe Satriani. I think you're referring to pinched harmonics. So it's just catching the string. I think I've demonstrated this a few times on the channel, where you've got a normal note like this, and this is just your E, if you're wanting to play along. So this is going to be the 9th fret of the G string, but here I'm striking the string and it's just a normal downstroke. Now what I've done is, after that downstroke, I've caught the string with my thumb, so it's stopping the string from vibrating as soon as you've hit it, and then you get that harmonic sound. Like that. And yes, I am doing this on a Fender Strat, so this isn't really the guitar to be demonstrating this kind of thing. Probably the Gem would be better, but hopefully you can hear the difference between those two. It's just straight, and that last one with the pinched harmonic. And you want to you can start to do it. If you've got control of it, you can do it to varying degrees, like that, where we're kind of getting, now I'm playing first finger here, so now down to the D, which is 7th fret. You can hear that it's not, and it's not fully a pinched harmonic like that, but it's kind of halfway between there. And the thing is that once you've you can start doing it all over the place. Yeah, even down here. I mean, that's the classic one that you'll hear all the time. Yeah, and kind of hard rock and metal, always down, you know, 3rd fret, low E string if you're in standard tuning. So yeah, it's just catching the string with your thumb straight after you've, I mean, that's the way that I do it. I think it's pretty standard, but it's all about getting the angle right, because you still want to be able to, you still want to pick normally, but then you want to have access to that pinched harmonic kind of as and when you want to do it, just like that, you know, playing a riff maybe a couple of times, and then the 3rd time, if you just give it a pinched harmonic, obviously it's going to set it apart from the 2 that you've done previously, so it's just going to, even though you're playing exactly the same notes, it's going to kind of almost be the reply to the 2 questions that you've had before. So yeah, that's pinched harmonics. So there you go. And I mean, as to, you know, who made it famous, it's very difficult, because harmonics and pinched harmonics, I mean, they've been techniques for years and years. I mean, way before, you know, the 80s, and when we started to get more distortion, because you've got, you know, artificial harmonics, which are, you know, harmonics that are created by hovering over the string and muting it with the right hand. I mean, that's more of a, if you're playing on an acoustic guitar, for example, or even classical guitar, that's more of a classical technique and a way of doing it. But then as soon as distortion, overdrive, everything kicked in, and, you know, sounds started getting really heavy, it means that something that would be quite a small sound, like a harmonic, can now be a really kind of in your face sound, because of the sound of just the note to begin with. Because this kind of sound, if you didn't have distortion and, you know, gain and played it at I mean, now you don't have to play at a loud volume. You can just kind of whop up the distortion on the guitar. If you've got a distortion pedal, or if you've got it on your amplifier, you can just whop it up, and this sound is actually really small. But because of the amount of, you know, gain and overdrive, it means that it's picking up that harmonic really clearly. Obviously, you need to have the technique as well, just to make sure that your harmonics are happening at the same kind of level as everything else to get it to stick out. So yeah, Melody Rock says not on an 11, but yeah, turning your amp up to 11 really does help as well if you do have that facility. So I'm just on 10 at the moment, so yeah, technique. I mean, technique is everything. Again, when you're practicing pinched harmonics, it's probably something that you'll want to do with the right effects. You know, trying to do it on a clean sound, you're not necessarily going to be able to appreciate at what level. And if I'm going like that, that's the equivalent of what I was just doing, but on a cleaner tone. Listen to how small that sound is. It's tiny, but then now, when we're hearing it in context with the right effect on there, you know, you can really go for it and still hear, you know, the harmonics that are being produced. And when you really go for it on a clean tone, it might be so quiet that you don't really hear it at all. So yeah, that's it. You've got to have the right environment to you know, practice what you want. And that's the same thing when we're talking about hammer-ons and pull-offs. When you've got a lot of effect on your guitar, it's going to be easier. So this is why you want to kind of turn it down and try and get the same sound from your pick, hammer on, so that those volumes are exactly the same. Again, that's the reason for practicing on clean tone as well. When you're going for the kind of the hard rock metal stuff, then obviously, yeah, doing it on a heavier tone is better for pinched harmonics, but generally for technique, you want to try and keep it all clean, so that, you know, if you're trying to play faster or anything, you want to make sure that the technique is solid before trying to speed things up, because you don't want the effects to hide anything that might be wrong with your playing. You just want it to embellish it. But anyway, Right, we are... Paul has donated $2 again, so thank you for that. And the message is, please spike the likes. We need a fill jam. So we are at 361 likes so far, aiming for 425. That means we're looking for 60. Yeah, it would be 61 now that we're looking for. I think that's right. So yeah, we need 61 more people to hit the thumbs up. We'll see where we end up with that. At the moment, You Know My Name has 58% of the vote in the live chat room. So it might be that one that we'll be listening to relatively shortly, because we are approaching 10 to midnight here in the UK. But the other option is Parisian Walkways. If you want to hear that one, make sure that you have your vote at the top of the live chat room. So Orlando's donated $2 as well, so thank you for that, Orlando. And the message is, that sounded like War Pigs. Thanks for the demo. So yeah, no problem. And yeah, during the live streams, if people have questions about things, then I'll do my best to either demonstrate or answer them. And the annoying thing is, because I get so many messages, when people ask me about particular things, I think at the time while answering the email, I think, oh, that'd be quite good to explain during a live stream, rather than, imagine me writing out what I've just spoken about in an email, replying to somebody. It'll take me years to type that out, so I wouldn't be able to do it. So sometimes I think, oh, it'll be good to kind of explain it and demonstrate it on a live stream, and that can be for vocal things as well. When somebody's emailing me and saying, oh, I've just started singing, and they might send me an example of them singing, and they want my input on it, or maybe just, I don't know, guidance as to what they maybe could improve with their voice, or this kind of stuff. And I always think, oh, that'd be interesting to do on a live stream, because I did used to do live analysis videos, but the problem with those was that the copyrights for particular videos, you only really knew once you started the stream whether it was going to get blocked or not, because your stream would suddenly end. So I thought, well, yeah, it's not really going to be something that I can do in the future, because I noticed that the rules in the UK were different to like the USA, for example, where people were doing live stream, reaction videos. And then if I wanted to look at that in the UK during a live stream, then my live stream would get stopped, it would be blocked. So I think looking at singers and people that want maybe a little bit of input on what they could do that might kind of help their vocals, that kind of thing is not going to get blocked. So I thought it might be interesting to do that during live streams as well. But again, it's all kind of ideas, and it is annoying. I get so many messages that there were at least a couple of messages that I had where I thought, the person who was asking about something, I thought it is something that I can address. So I'm trying to find emails somewhere. It's like an impossibility, because it's been so disorganized with Facebook, Instagram, the Wings of Pegasus website, contact us page. I've also got Authentic Vocal and the Authentic Vocal Instagram, and the YouTube channel, and the website, the contact page on that there are so many potential places that the emails could be, and I'll have to try and find them. Maybe it is in the Authentic Vocal inbox somewhere. I'll have to have a look. But yeah, it might be something that I can throw out there if people want to discuss something on a live stream. I can do that in the future as well, but I might focus on the guitar thing to begin with. Anyway, we are pushing forward with tonight's live stream. It's 10 to midnight. Let me just have a check on the fill jam. If we do get there, it's going to be 6 minutes and 18 seconds. So it's kind of in that mid area between not too long but still quite long, so we'll have to leave enough space for that at the end of the live stream. We might jump into the cover video now to get things out of the way. I think I'm just going to keep my guitar on me so that it means there's minimal things to do later on if we do indeed hit the target for tonight's live stream, and we're aiming for 425 and we're at 378, so we're looking for 47 more people to hit the thumbs up. So we'll have to go and find some people, drag them into the live stream, and hit the thumbs up. Right, I tell you what, I'm going to bring the vote for tonight's cover video to a close, and it seems like, yeah, no, You Know My Name has run away with it, so we will be taking a look at that. And this was a collaboration cover with Kent Johnson on violin, so yeah, we will jump into this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll catch you guys after. Rock!
Take a life, do you know what you give? Odds are you won't like what it is. When the storm arrives, would you be seen with me by the merciless eyes of deceit? I've seen angels fall from
There we have it. So that was You Know My Name, as you could probably tell. So a big thank you to Kent Johnson for joining me on that particular tune. As I always say, probably my favourite Bond theme or theme song. Obviously Chris Cornell on that vocal, as you know, he was throughout his whole career, just a stellar vocalist. So it's really cool to be able to take that on with Kent. And I mean, I do say that it's arguably my favourite theme, but I think it probably is. So yeah, there we have it. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for voting for that as tonight's winner for the cover video for tonight. And Parisian Walkways was there again, but it didn't quite win out. So Elaine says, your name is Phil, right? Yes, it is indeed. And yeah, it is amazing how many, I guess it isn't amazing how many people either spell my name with a PH or, I mean, when they ask me about whether it's the right spelling or not, and yeah, it's the Norwegian spelling of Phil, and Philip, F-I-L-I-P, but I shorten it to Phil. So yeah, it's not a spelling mistake on my birth certificate or anything like that, or me trying to be fancy with like a stage name or something like that. Years ago, I was on a TV comedy show called Celebrity Juice here in the UK, and the presenter of it was a guy who is a comedian, but he plays a character. So I think a lot of people think that the character is actually the person, but it's not. It's a comedian who plays this character, and he's very convincing. Anyway, the character is called Keith Lemon. So I was on this show, and he asked me, why do you spell your name with an F? And then I said, oh, it's because it's Norwegian. Because, yeah, my family history comes from Norway. And he said, oh, okay. And the problem was, because he said, oh, I can't say anything to that. I think he had something planned as a comedian, thinking that I was trying to be cool, or for some reason change the spelling as like a rock and roll thing. But unfortunately, I just, I guess, stole his thunder of whatever he'd come up with, to thinking that he was going to get a particular response. He didn't know that that's how it was spelt in Norway. So there you go. But that was, a very long time ago now. Right. Elaine's just donated $5 and says, I know who you are, making a silly joke. So thank you for that. And yes, I had appreciated that. You know who I am. Right. Ocean Cat says, what on earth were you doing on that Phil? So, this was over 10 years ago now. I went on a talent show here called The X Factor, to kind of prove a point that it wasn't really about talent. It's, as long as you go there and do something outrageous, then you'll get on TV. And I proved that point. And also, because I own my publishing, it means that Simon Cowell has to pay me a royalty to show my audition. So once that had been on, because people, for a weekend, like for a Saturday and a Sunday, people had seen, what I'd done. It meant that I then got asked to go on that particular show. And I mean, this is the other interesting thing about going and doing something like that. It just gives you an appreciation of what fame is. Just getting a tiny bit of it, that people then recognise you. And I mean, I was recognised everywhere. Even I went to Southampton for a radio show, and I got recognised at the service station of the motorway. And it's just somebody calling across the car park. Obviously, I look a particular way, so maybe not so good for fading into the background. But it means that I got a bit of an appreciation for people recognising me. And like when I went out in Maidenhead, just to the shops of people gathering around and wanting a picture and all that kind of stuff. And that's great, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, people have seen you on TV, so they want to have a picture with you, which, is fine. But when we're talking about having a career and making money from music and making it financially viable, I think the problem that a lot of musicians and artists have had is that they were signed to a major label, and then it all stops, and then they realise that, well, I'm famous, but I'm not making any money, because fame doesn't pay you anything. So people can recognise you, but it doesn't put money in your bank account, unfortunately. So fame, but financial viability and longevity, being able to do something full time, you've got to kind of build that up from the ground up. And this is why I think that if you are signed to a major label and then you get dropped, it's going to be so much harder, because you haven't built up everything yourself. It's a record label who have done that, and once they end everything, you've now got to do it all yourself, and you might not even know how to, set up a website or record your own songs, produce, or shoot your own music videos and all that kind of stuff, or send out CDs, do your merchandise. This is all kind of marketing things and promoting yourself, and jobs that a record label have multiple people doing that some artists and bands don't even know about. Some singers might not even know how to record their vocals because it's all been done for them. So when they're then dropped on their own, they think, well, what do I do now? And it's going to be one hell of a learning curve if they haven't picked up anything while they've been recording. So yeah, this is the problem, and it's the reason why a lot of bands, and especially kind of boy bands here in the UK, lots of stories of them having like an album or 2 albums, then getting dropped, and then trying to do something themselves musically because they're seen as a band. When it's not with the other guys, it's like, well, everyone wants to see you with the band, so trying to do something yourself is very difficult as a solo artist then, unless you were the favoured one by the record label and you get signed again for a solo deal or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it was good for that, and that's the reason that I was on it, that people knew who I was. And I think it was all pretty much like a week or two. It all happened in that same time frame, because the X Factor went out on a Saturday and then went out on a Sunday, and those were the 2 days where they showed my first audition, where I ran around and kind of stood up on the table, and the second audition, which was the Wembley Arena, just running around, just being stupid. And yeah, so and that was on national TV, so that's why for those couple of weeks people knew how it was. But then again, it just kind of fades away. And I think it's fair to say that because I've been doing the music thing for a very long time, that was just something that I wanted to prove a point with, and I'm pretty certain that most people now don't even know about that, because I've been doing what I've been doing for such a long time, that the X Factor thing was maybe for what I'd say the mainstream audience that watch those shows, and I'm not a big fan of those shows, but those kinds of people knew me for like a couple of weeks, but then I could just go back to what I was doing anyway, which was my music and my channel and everything, and building things up. And that was over 10 years ago now. So yeah, this is it. I think people watching this live stream won't know me as the guy from X Factor, because it was such a short space of time. And yeah, it's very much how I advise people to do it. To have your own thing going on, and if you want to go and do something great, but if it falls through, don't rely on that. Make sure that you've got a strong foundation in place. Yeah, it's really important, especially with music, because it's such a competitive marketplace anyway. You're literally up against everyone else in the world who's got an internet connection. So yeah, that's my advice for that. Ocean Cat says, thanks for explaining that, Phil. Must have missed it. So yes, right, we are going to be jumping into, I think, maybe the Phil Jam, if we can find 2 people. We're looking for 2 people to hit the thumbs up to get ourselves to 425 subscribers. Yeah, I mean, I was there a while ago, and that was still good, but 425 likes for tonight's live stream. If we could hit that thumbs up. And Rocking Babe says, please nominate Phil for Love Island. So thank you for that. And that's something that here in the UK, yeah, I don't know, it's really, for me, it's just a bit weird, and it's a bit kind of dodgy, where young people, and really young people, like maybe in their late teens or early 20s, they put their love life on show, like in a reality show. So it means that everyone's potentially judging these young people for decisions they're making, what they're doing, and then when the show finishes, everyone still sees them as that person that was on that Love Island show. So yeah, again, and yeah, there are examples of that where people have maybe become depressed after it because of getting negative press, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's not something that I'm particularly into. I'm not into really the talent shows, but even less into those kinds of reality love shows. I think just I don't know, keep your love life private. Don't put it on TV, just in case it all kind of backfires, and then all the media have got to do is label you as something, and you can't really argue against that because you're just one person, whereas the media, they have loads of outlets and they can paint you to be a particular kind of person when you're not. And I mean, it's very difficult because you're also relying on the editors of the show to edit in parts that reflect you as a person accurately rather than other parts that might not and are taken out of context, as I've been taken out of context on my channel, where people take the parts where I'm being sarcastic, but they take out the bit where I've explained before, like a hypothetical situation. They only put in the bit where I'm being sarcastic, and people thought that I was being serious. So anyway, right, there has been another donation over on PayPal, so I'll quickly get into this. Orlando has donated £7.50. Thank you for that, Orlando. And the message is, I'm reminded of an episode of the Brady Bunch where Greg Brady was hired by a record label. It was not for his talent, but because he fit the suit. It was the famous Johnny Bravo episode. So thank you for that. And I've heard of the Brady Bunch, but I haven't seen it. I think maybe it didn't get shown. Well, certainly not when I was a kid over here in the UK. Well, it wasn't on the channels that I was watching. But anyway, we are going to be jumping into the Phil Jam because we now have 439 likes. So thank you guys for hitting that thumbs up. Of course, if you're watching this on catch up, you can keep on doing that. Really helps the live stream to get out there and for the channel to grow on the whole. But let's click on this. And right. Okay, right. So this is Dreamy Rock Ballad backing in A minor, or just in AM, and the YouTube channel is Dope's Tracks, but it's Dopez, so it might be Dopez Tracks. If you guys want to check this out on YouTube, then you can do. Right, now as for the levels, if you can let me know, mic is already on from earlier. Let's get this going, see if we can hear it, see what's going on. Oh. there we go. That was it. That was the ending. I was just waiting for it to go around one more time, but it didn't. So that is Dreamy Rock Ballad backing track in A minor, and that's coming from Dope's Tracks. Dopez. Dopez. So there we have it. Thank you, Joe, for sending that my way. Interesting one. There, a few changes that I kept on missing when then went round again, but got there maybe in the end after about the 6 minutes. So there we have it. And there's been another donation in the PayPal window. So let me quickly jump over to that. Sue has donated £20, so thank you for that. And the message is yay for the Phil Jam. So thank you for that, Sue. And Orlando has donated $5 in the super chat window. Thank you for that again. The message is, did you catch Chelsea's win over Paris Saint-Germain over the weekend? No, I didn't, unfortunately. I mean, I haven't really been catching anything. I know that the England women's football team is in the final stages. I don't know what, maybe last 16 or something, maybe even quarterfinals, not sure, of the Euros. Which is great because we won that the last time, so we're kind of defending champions, and we lost our first match of the tournament, which is really annoying. But then I think we won 2 games in a row, and now we're in the final stages to play Sweden. That's happening on Thursday at 8 o'clock. So I've made a mental note of it, because the last mental note that I made was for Sunday at 8 o'clock. And the other thing that happened on Sunday was the Wimbledon final, the men's final. So I managed to catch a bit of that, and then totally forgot about the football, realised I missed it, was a bit annoyed, and just watched the highlights. I think England needed to win that game, but we did, so it was fine. So mental note for Thursday night that I'll be hopefully watching the women's football. We will see if that actually happens or not, but I would like to if it is at all possible. So anyway, we're going to be calling things to a close. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm going to be here with another video tomorrow night, of course, so look out for that one. All that's left for me to say is try to stay as safe and as sane as possible in this crazy world in which we live. And have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!